I didn't want to talk about this because I'd rather be wrestling instead. I'd rather be wrestling. Dun, 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 dun. Clips of me wrestling. If I knew how to edit, I would totally have made that into a thing. But I wanted to just okay, let's just get it out the way. Undertaker has endorsed Donald Trump. And so did Hulk Hogan, so did Kane, and so did Disco Inferno. They're like I'm gonna say this, like Disco, I kind of get. Hulk Hogan, I kind of get. Kane, I kind of get. Undertaker, I feel like his heart's not really in it. I feel like he's just doing it because because I feel like everybody else is doing it because they believe in Trump. But I feel like Taker is doing it just because well, he's my coworker and he's a friend of the business. I'm part of the business. I'm just supporting my friend. I feel like that's what it is. It doesn't really feel like he is like down for the cause like everybody else is. And honestly, it doesn't even feel like that big of a betrayal to me because like it's kind of like how Hulk Hogan being a Trump supporter didn't really feel like that big of a betrayal to me. I mean, the dude has been famous since the 80s. You know what I mean? He's an old white dude from Florida who's been rich since the 80s. Of course he's going to be like a diehard Trump supporting Republican. I mean, that's kind of par for the course. If you're an old white dude who's been famous since the 80s and have had a ridiculously affable life since then, of course you're going to be like, yeah, I'm going to vote for the party. I'm going to vote for the guy who is going to make sure that I'm doing okay. So it makes sense. I mean, isn't Taker's from Texas, right? I mean, it makes sense. It really does. But one thing I feel like we kind of don't talk about that much is that like in professional wrestling specifically, professional wrestling only recently became this ridiculously diverse thing that it has been. Like we got to remember, like I want to say maybe a decade and a half ago, if not maybe a little bit before that, wrestling was just a white guy thing. I'm not gonna say it was. I mean, wrestling was the thing that like you weren't getting over unless you were a buff, rich, white, blonde dude. You know what I mean? You were lucky to be seen in that in any other aspect. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that like professional wrestling is like racist or anything like that, but it was very clear. But everybody considered WWE to be the big leagues back then, and it's very clear what you had to do, or what you had to look like, or what you had to be in order to become like the big dog in the big leagues. Well, what about The Rock? I mean, let's be real. The Rock is racially ambiguous. You find yourself saying that he's black just because he's not white. I mean, like people was ignoring him being Samoan just so they could say that he was black. I mean, the whole concept is still the same. I mean, Hogan, Flair, uh, dang, what I mean, Cena, um, Macho Man Randy Savage, yeah. You got like when you think of like legendary wrestlers from like back in the day, you think Nick Bockwinkel, what was that guy named Killer Kowalski, um, all of these, all of these white wrestlers, Vern Gagne, Greg Gagne, like Harley Race, Terry Funk. You think about all of these guys. You don't think like you can't go like name a black wrestler from that era that isn't Bobo Brazil. I mean, there's gonna be some racist that's gonna pop up and be like, I can name about eight, and they start naming them all as like going, see, I'm not racist, I know. It's like going, yeah, but did they actually? Did you have to Google them, or did you know who they were? And did you see them? Like, did you know who they were? Because like like I can name a few wrestlers from like the past era. You know what I'm saying? Like I can name Junkyard Dog and Big Cat Ernie Ladd and oh my God, there was a Bearcat. I forgot Bearcat's real name. Not not Keith Lee, the wrestler that they inspired it from, but it was also he was Bad News Brown. Bad News Brown. But what I'm saying though is that like when you think about the NWA territory days, you don't think of most black wrestlers. You think of mostly white wrestlers. And I'm not saying this to say that it was racially divided on purpose. What I am saying is that like, at the time, black people did boxing, white people did professional wrestling. And as time went by, professional wrestling started to become this bigger thing because Vince McMahon was rich enough to take risk and not fully suffer the consequences because once again he's rich. The same thing that people actually complain about AEW, which I always find kind of weird. People be like, the only reason why AEW is around because the guy who was in charge of it is a billionaire. I mean, yeah. WWE was the same way. Vince McMahon had a whole bunch of money, and it wasn't like, Vince McMahon could literally afford to lose that kind of money. You can hear whatever you want to. Actually, no, he wasn't. I mean, if WrestleMania 1 didn't succeed, that company would have went belly up really quick. And there's one thing I've learned about professional wrestling is that no company has ever went belly up because of the fans. If a company has ever went like belly up, it will be because, money wasn't being paid towards the wrestlers or something like that. But it will never be because like wrestling fans just didn't want to watch a show. You know what I mean? I've always learned that. And it's like wrestling fans will try to make it seem like that's not the case, but it's like that was totally the case. But the whole thing is that like, but there was a bit of a demographic that professional wrestling had in the grasp. You know what I'm saying? And now that demographic, because like, if you were a wrestling fan, you were either A, a white dude, B, really sexist, or C, really racist. Oh, the whole idea was that like the stereotypical wrestling fan is not that smart. And it's like, but we are though. Wrestling fans are smart. But it's like, but you have like these stupid, racist, bigoted, sexist guys out here speaking so loudly about the product and speaking so loudly about the product while donning their wrestling shirts and wrestling memorabilia that they took over what it means to be a wrestling fan. And I'm kind of liking the idea that for a time there was pushback against that. And now we have to push back even further and even harder now because now you got like these wrestlers from yesteryear endorsing Donald Trump. It's very crazy because it seems like every single time wrestling goes forward in a way that like could actually show that professional wrestling is more than just something to watch. Is a literal art form. It's a culture. It's literally a part of American history. How many political figures have we had that were once professional wrestlers? You know what I'm saying? It's basically the masculine approach to theater, if you really think about it. But like now you got these people starting to appreciate the fact that it is, like starting to take it serious. It's starting to be taken seriously now as a medium rather than some performance art that's only made for like the lowest of the low. And now we have to fight back again because now you're going to have this political divide, this bigger political divide in professional wrestling, in the professional wrestling fandom. And it's because it's always been there. Like we love to act like it's not there because we try our best to like avoid talking about like politics and stuff like that because we want to spare the feelings of white supremacists. But if we're being real, this has always been a thing. This has always been kind of like a looming thing. Like we really do need to kind of address the elephant in the room, and the elephant in the room is the wrestling community do in fact have white supremacists in it trying to manipulate the narrative to make it seem like their viewpoints on professional wrestling is normal. These are the same people that told you that Kofi Kingston and Bianca Belair were just not good champions, but they can't explain to you why. Or they'll say, it's not because of their race or or Bianca Belair's gender. It's because they're not good. And you can ask them all day, what do you mean by that? Because you got to be specific. They're just not good. They're not great. They're not charismatic. You know what I'm saying? And all this just for them to say, I'm not a fan of them and you shouldn't be either. It's just, these people aren't deep, bro. But like now that we're starting, like now there's an underbelly to what it is to be a professional wrestling fan, and there's an underbelly to professional wrestling in its entirety. And I want to say the endorsement of Donald Trump is actually proving that now, especially because like Kane is doing it. Because Kane is just I hear that he's not that great of a politician. I hear that he did some things that he has no business doing while he was in office. And while we can agree that political figures are most of them can succumb to corruption, it's very possible. Anybody who has power has a choice to either use their power in a good way or in a bad way. And in America, we're so used to politicians doing the bad thing that we just immediately assume that it's an immediate response to power. But it's like, But in the sense of Kane, it's just like he's no different. So the idea that Kane, who is known to be a bit of a corrupt politician, endorsing Trump, who is just a corrupt person in general, that should turn some people away, and it doesn't. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. I'm not going to say, hey, support this person or support that person. I'm not even going to tell you that A is better than B or B is better than A. I will say this, though. I'm a black guy from the South, so, of course, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. I'm not a fan of the Republican Party because the Republicans I encounter are racist, bigots, and sociopaths over here. So I don't really like those guys. But I will say that if you want to vote for him, by all means, go right ahead. I don't care. But just know that like you're not gonna be like, well, how is Kamala better? And I'm not gonna have that discussion with you because I didn't say that Kamala was better. I just said I hated Trump. But like I say, if you've been rich for like the past 30 years. Trump probably knows who you are and probably hung out with you and presented himself in such a way that you probably might find yourself being friendly with them. But and it takes a lot, and it takes a big man to say, I was duped by this guy. I thought he was smarter than he is. I thought he was better than he is. And not a lot of people can say that. You know what I'm saying? Some people kind of want the myth of what Donald Trump could be to be legit. They want to be able to say, yeah, he has his flaws, but he's a good person. And I feel like that's what Undertaker is trying to do. But because of his endorsement, I'm just gonna be like, I mean, he's not Undertaker to me anymore. He's just Mark now. You know what I mean? He's just some dude named Mark. And like I said, I'm still a fan of the Undertaker, but I don't ever think I could hang out with Mark. So. Yeah. But we do need to have a deeper conversation like within our community about like the white supremacy and the white supremacists and the right wing cats and the bigots and within our own community. We do need to have a discussion about these guys because they are a big part of the wrestling community and they shouldn't be. They shouldn't be a part of any community. They shouldn't be any community outside of themselves, in my opinion. Oh, so you just want to get rid of us? You just want us to go to a concentration camp? No, I don't want you to go to a concentration camp. I just want you to get out of our group. Stop messing up what we're doing. Stop trying to normalize your belief system to act like it's a part of the group. You're not a part of the group. You are your own person doing your own thing, and people shouldn't incorporate you with the rest of us. And I include myself because I always say I'm not a wrestling fan. I'm something better. But like in reality, I'm just a wrestling fan who just likes wrestling a little too much. That I want to actually get involved in it. That's all I am. I'm just a guy who wants to get involved in wrestling. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get there, even if it means taking a really long time to try to save up my money to do so. But we do need that conversation though. We need to start addressing the bigotry in our own community because the more we ignore it, the worse it gets. Like, do you really want to be friends with a Trump supporter just because he's a wrestling fan? Imagine if Lashley wins the championship again. They're gonna be like imagine what they're gonna do. You know what I'm saying? Imagine if like professional wrestling is only gonna get more diverse, more diverse, more accepting, more black, more gay, more whatever. And you're going to have these people over here trying to say, this is not a good thing. They should have been back to the way that they used to be. But they would never tell you how. That's a problem. Let's have that conversation, y'all. Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, and Kane, they started it. Let's make it bigger. All right, I'm out. A little update on my wrestling situation. Like I said, money is getting a little bit better. I'm working a lot more, so I'm going to probably be having more hours at my job, a little bit more money coming in. And here's the hoping that, like, because of that, things will start moving up for me financially, and I could go back to training because I ain't gonna lie, I do miss training. However, I do know that I can still help out with the shows because I've requested off for like a lot of the days that the shows were going to be happening, so I will be able to go to the shows and help out. But hopefully between now and between now and the end of the year, I'll have enough money saved up that I could like go back to training and get back to doing this stuff. Also, congratulations to the Reality of Wrestling for becoming the new WWE indie developmental company. I mean, like if I'm halfway there. All right, guys. But yeah, y'all be easy, love and peace. Nah, I said I was gonna stop saying y'all be easy, love and peace, and be safe. Be safe out there, and see you in the ring. I'd rather be wrestling right now.